2009 when he realized that the local RTC was ineffective at delivering a strong message. Believing there was a market for such a message, he got the Rapid Republican blog going and brought on Iron Mike to apply the daily verbal muscle. Now with over 2 million hits, averaging in excess of 20,000 a month, their message is widespread. Not bad for two guys from Massachusetts. And then John Nowicki grew up in Massachusetts, earned his degree in communications and political science from the University of Rhode Island, and his MBA from the University of Phoenix. Today he's the new media market professional, co-founder of the Worcester Tea Party, and principal member of the Right to Refuse Amendment Coalition. John's focus is on helping to promote liberty-based organizations and solving the real problems that are at the root of America's decline. So what we're going to do is go down the line and have each other talk a little bit about the projects that they're working on, and then we'll open it up to questions. Okay?
Yeah, full disclosure, I work for National Grid, but I do not represent them here today.
Okay.
I'd like to talk to you after.
So whoever wants to start? And then
Let's have the PowerPoint start first, but we're going to hold the questions till after to make sure that we get through them.
Thank you.
I can yell pretty good. My name is Claire. Our group is HALT MA Smart Meters. I asked Christine if I could please follow Jeff. No, I'm sorry. If Obamacare is the center dish on the table of socialism, smart meters are the salt and pepper. Smart meters. Oh yeah, thanks. You don't have to talk yourself. Okay, smart meters have a lot in common with other current agenda-driven initiatives, and that proponents, in my opinion, fall into one of three categories. They're either un- or under-informed, riding the gravy train, or they're agenda-driven zealots. They either don't see, they don't care about, or they embrace the slippery slope. And also, like Obamacare, the truth would inconvenient morsels and lies, and they're about to become a fixture on your house and mine. The sheer scope and volume of serious issues associated with smart meters and their infrastructure are an indicator of the power and the money behind them.
Excuse me, Claire.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If you sit down, then I'll pick it. You don't pick it up. You don't even have to.
I usually don't have a PowerPoint. Obama wanted to spend, lost my spot. Obama wanted to spend $100 billion to fulfill his quote, make electricity rates necessarily skyrocket. Only a few billion are publicized, but the truth is close to 30 billion borrowed stimulus dollars jump-started this smart metering. 85% of that spending of our borrowed money was stealth. The unbelievably fast deployment, both nationally and internationally, is astounding and a fluorescent red flag. The rationale for smart metering is peak shading to reduce carbon dioxide emissions to combat global warming by educating the masses with time-of-use pricing so we will perform tasks at night off-peak. This graph shows real summer and fall New England usage, actually from July and this past October. My daughter got married in the top one, 103 degrees. Smart meters' purported goal is to shave 5% off of each of these curves. Note the United Nations has declared air conditioning unsustainable. The two Massachusetts pilot programs charge The two Massachusetts pilot programs charge 11 to 12 times the base rate during the summer peak days, so that the backup plants can be decommissioned, and on paper, wind and solar will fill the gap. Smart meters, despite the propaganda, do nothing to integrate solar. In fact, because of the problems with solar, California just in the last couple of weeks implemented a $10 per customer per month surcharge for their renewable troubles. They're about 20-odd% solar. And they're punishing everyone with a $10 per month fine, or tariff, they call it. Our dependable glass and metal meters that lasted for decades may soon be a memory. Most smart meters in the Worcester pilot, I'm concentrating on the Worcester pilot because once that's declared a success, it's coming to our town. On the Worcester pilot, have a blue stripe, and they're being quietly deployed. To call them smart meters was brilliant marketing. Smart meters are meters like Harley Davidsons or bicycles. They sport 2 transmitters, can control items in your home. They transmit unknown data and a lot of data that will tell exactly what you're doing and when, and they can be shut off remotely. Don't be fooled by industry and government propaganda that lumps smart grid and smart meter benefits together. New Jersey, Connecticut, and Germany are not deploying because smart meters and the infrastructure cost a fortune but do not benefit consumers. Actual improvements are the result of smart grid elements, like this recloser, not smart meters. The Worcester Smart Meter Pilot needs 3 separate, discrete networks. The home area network is 5, 10, 20 appliances constantly sending unknown data through your smart meter 24/7, 365. The mesh network is every home's meter chattering with every meter around it, pulsing 14,000 to 190,000 times per day, all day, every day. Funnelling to a special meter that then transmits it to the tower in the 3rd network. And if we allow the Worcester pilot to be rolled out Commonwealth-wide, we're talking about 46,000 new private WiMAX antennas and 2,300 new data towers around Massachusetts. And these are not cell phone towers, these are private data towers. And they're using this law called the Telecommunications Act of 1996 that allows them to put them wherever they want, and the municipalities and residents can say nothing. And it's an abuse of this law, and it has to be stopped. I did jump on the guy who identified himself as a lawyer earlier. Utilities allow ratepayers to see these benign hourly increments, but the 15-minute incremental data was obtained through the Freedom of Information Act, and you can see how easy it is to see when the family woke up, when they went to bed, when they blew-dried their hair, when they left, and when they returned. Compare that to when the house was empty all day. This is 2 days later. And in context, you can see that when she just popped out to do her errands, the security system was not on, and when they were gone for a couple of days, they had the security system on. This is at a glance. This is just the tip of the iceberg of the data that will be sent through these meters. And they can also drill down to 1-minute increments of what you're doing, so that they know, literally, the moment you walk in your house. It's a paradigm altering, and nobody knows it's happening, hardly. Privacy aside, take the electrical grid that's integral to our life as we know it and live it, from closed to the cloud is fraught with clear and present danger. Existing new copper or fiber optic cable, the industry says that's just too expensive and wireless is cheaper. Safety is not just overheating appliances and blowing out appliances. Serious fires have happened all over the world, but also interference with medical devices and other safety. These have serious safety issues. And privacy, security, and customer choice and property values pale in comparison to the next issue. I left it to the end because you, like I did, may have formed an opinion on whether microwaves and wireless technology is safe. I see cell phones all around. And the truth that I understand it is we may not be sensitive to this, but there are some people who are sensitive to this, and they are being, I hate to use the word, marginalized. And the smart meters and their infrastructure, they're making these people sick. And like leukemia here in the Woburn debacle in the 70s, the medical establishment is choosing either through ignorance or some other reason, allowing this just to happen to these people. Smart meter technology is similar and different to Wi-Fi, cell phones, and baby monitors. And these pulses are happening all day, every day, and but they're mathematically massaged to be below the FCC limits. The sick people are being told to eat more fiber and go to Montana. India's limits were lower than ours. They just lowered them to a 1/10 of what their limits were. Other countries are taking action, and we are going in the other direction, allowing this law, the Telecommunications Act of 1996, to be expanded to private data from cell phones and internet. I have some more, but about the lies, the data lies, and some other things, but I'll just leave that. The WORCESTER pilot is happening. It's 15,000 meters are deployed. We, Halt MA Smart Meters, did a survey of the people with smart meters. 87% did not know they had one, and of those people with smart meters, 0 knew they were in a pilot program. And they spent $1.8 million of our dollars, if you're in National Grid's territory, on pre-pilot customer engagement and education. I think that's a lot of cocktail parties and limos, because they did not tell these people anything. And this pilot is coming to our house, and when it is deployed in Massachusetts, it's $8 billion to tax ourselves out of using electricity forever and letting somebody else's finger be on that button. And the slippery slope is enormous. And we have an advantage. A lot of other states, there's about 50 million of these deployed in the United States, a lot more globally. And we have the advantage where we're kind of in the middle of the hump. And we can see, most other states had no idea what was coming down the road. We can see what's on the horizon. We have got to stop this, because after our $8 billion is spent, there'll be no going back. So you can contact us at haltmasmartmeters@gmail. And I want to thank you for listening to me.
Who's up next, madam?
Who would like to go? Stephanie, you want to go?
Sure. Oh, I went to high school with Stephanie.
Did you say the Telecom Act of 1996?
Yeah, you lawyer.
I believe that's Ed Markey. Was it Ed Markey?
No.
And that's big, yeah.
Wasn't that part of his
Well, he's in the midst of another bill.
Okay.
I'm going to close this while,
Yeah,
and
great.
then if you need to reference it, during question.
No. So, yeah, I'm Stephanie Davis. I publish Massachusetts Matters. I come to you from the city of Boston. I live in Roxbury, so I'm literally inside the belly of the beast. And I can see when we talk about activism and conservatism and liberalism, I have the opportunity to see it up close and personal, and quite frankly, I love every minute of it. My state senator, I was looking at the Mass Fiscal, I did the research. My state senator is Sonia Chang Diaz. 3%. She 11. She's a big hitter. Comparatively speaking, my state representative is Gloria Fox. She's 3%. She's a 3%er. In Hyde Park, which is another borough of the city of Boston, there's a representative, Angelo Scaccia. He's a 0%er. So when you talk about rhinos and that you're not happy with the representation that you have, just think about what it is for people who live in the city looking at the scorecards, which are 3%, 4% are the norms. So it can be worse than what we're accustomed to or what we like to see. But I have a number of notes, but what I wanted to focus on in particular is that in January of next year, the city of Boston will have a new mayor, Martin Walsh. He's a 3%er. He went up to 4% after he voted against the tech tax that he originally voted in favor of. So his record was so appalling before that one vote bumped him up to 4%. And so my point is a number of things. I had an opportunity to speak to the taxpayer's best friend in Massachusetts, that would be Barbara Anderson, about Martin Walsh and what he represents, not only to the citizens of the city of Boston, but to the rest of you living in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Long story short, for those of you, can everybody hear me? Who don't know, Martin Walsh is an outspoken and unabashed supporter of organized labor. He garnered millions of dollars of support, not just here in Massachusetts, but around the country. He is carrying their water, and assuming he doesn't change his spots, that's entirely possible. Somebody said earlier, state and local governments, unlike the federal governments, have to balance their budgets. So maybe something will change. The leopard will change its spots, and maybe Martin Walsh will become what one of my friends said is a Nixon goes to China type of mayor, where he will actually become a friend and advocate of the taxpayer. But at this moment, his record is certainly not that. And in particular, he is an outspoken supporter of compulsory binding arbitration. Does anybody know what that means? That means that your Massachusetts property taxes may well go back to being the highest in the world as they were prior to the passage of Proposition 2.5. So what I'm trying to say to you is that in the course of that campaign, in the course of the mayoral campaign, I got to meet not only my own city councilors, but a number of city council candidates, and some of the mayoral candidates. Had an opportunity to speak to them up close and personal and really get a feel for what goes on in the city. And my feeling is, number one, that if Republicans in Massachusetts or nationwide are going to be successful on a statewide basis, it is imperative that we be organized in the cities. That's where the problems fall here in Massachusetts. It's not out here in the suburbs. It's not Billerica. It's in Boston, where Republican candidates routinely get slaughtered. 80-20, 75-25. You cannot win statewide when the largest city in New England is giving 75 and 80% of its votes to the Democrats, and I've seen the way they work, and it's an awesome thing. It's a juggernaut. They know how to organize. However, it is not hopeless. There is an opportunity. There is an opportunity to fight back. That young man from UMass, I had an opportunity to speak to some college students at Suffolk University, the Federalist Society. They, like you, they're swamped. You know, there are all kinds of groups, campus groups, that are arrayed against our young people, but they're looking for something. They're looking for a way to contribute, and a way to become active, and a way to fight back against the onslaught of liberalism that is dominating the academy. If you look at the results of the mayoral election, it was close. For all the support that Mr. Walsh received, it was a relatively close election. And looking at the results and previous results of statewide campaigns that took place in the city, there is a potential coalition that I think we can begin to use to help. We're not going to win the city of Boston, or Worcester, or Newton, or Springfield, or Fall River, but we can begin to cut into the margin of defeat, so that when Boston votes, when Newton votes, etc., it won't be so bad. So to close this off, because I know we're running short on time, my purpose, my motivation, my focus is helping to narrow that gap in the city, is to cut that down, so that we can actually begin to win some battles in the city proper. One of them, I think, will be fought around pensions, pension solvency, and fiscal balancing budgets. The city of Boston is running a deficit, and it has to be closed somehow. Cities can't run deficits. Books have to be balanced. So I think that's part of the solution. I think that's where the Tea Party message has its greatest impact. We are the proponents of school choice. There is, John Connolly was defeated, but he was a charter school supporter. He supported reform. It didn't necessarily help him, but it didn't hurt him either. Bill Walczak, a former, he was a candidate as well. He at one time worked for Cesar Chavez. However, if I sat him down in this room and had a conversation that he had with me, and if he was speaking to you, 90% of the things he was saying, people in this room would agree. He said it's appalling what we're doing to our young people in terms of the debt that's being piled on. He was talking about wanting to substitute flagmen for paid police details. He founded a charter school. He was talking about the need for pension reform and fiscal reform. So one of the things, the thing that's most encouraging to me is that there are, at the city level, at the local level, you do get to press the flesh and talk to your city councilors. There are city councilors who know who I am. So when I come talk to them, they know who I am. My city councilor knows who I am. Some of the mayoral candidates know who I am, and that helps. They do listen. They do pay attention. And when I come back here next year, I hope that we will have hope to have an even better coalition, a better sense of how it is that we're going to be able to actually crack what I call cracking the urban code, is putting together a coalition that can blunt the influence of the traditional left. So that's my mission for the coming year, and I don't know, maybe some of you will be, maybe I can help some of you in your own race. But I have to try it out in races, but I have to try it out in Boston. And if it can work there, it can work in Worcester and Newton and other places as well. So that's what my focus is right now. And so I'll turn it over to
Stephanie. Stephanie's Massachusetts Matter website is awesome. There's awesome content there. I suggest everyone go check it out. And thank you, Dean, for inviting me, and Brad for letting us have this building yet again for the 100th time. And just this year, you're not here. It looks like you left, but thank you for. Yeah, he's an unbelievable generosity to the cause of liberty. I'm here to talk about the right to refuse amendment. Jeff Cooner really struck the nail on the head. And that is that the upcoming election in the midterm, and I believe in 2016, is going to be all about saving our health care. So much of this country is appalled by lies and what has been said and the reality of what's happening. And I do agree with him that this could very easily be the end of the establishment, quite frankly, on both sides, the Republican and the Democrat establishment. I agree with them that if the Republicans, the rhinos in government, try to save this in some way, that they will be destroyed by it. But the problem that faces us as activists is, where are we going to focus our energy? Are we going to focus it on something like defunding Obamacare? Are we going to try to repeal it? Or are we going to kill the precedent? The issue with Obamacare, and Jeff hit this right on the head, is not about insurance or health care. It's about power vested in a very small group of people in Congress and in government. And right now, what we're leaving to our children is a world in which corporations and government can combine power to force them to do anything by taxing all other alternatives. Quite frankly, Obamacare isn't the problem. Obamacare is a mess. It's a huge problem. Don't get me wrong. I didn't sleep the night that the Roberts decision was rendered. I don't believe it. But the real problem in the issue that we're leaving to our children is the precedent that's been set by that decision. This new right of government to force our children to do anything. Absolute power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And our generation, us, our fault, We have set the seeds of this in our society in which corporations and government combine power to do anything. Even if single payer comes about, it pales in comparison to the precedent that we have just set for our children. So what I'm doing is I'm leading a grassroots organization that's looking to pass the right to refuse amendment to the U.S. Constitution. It reads, Congress shall make no law that imposes a tax on the failure to purchase products or services. It's simple, it's straightforward, and strikes right at the root of the real problem of the Roberts decision, and ends this new right of government to be able to force us to do anything by basically giving them a negative right, the ability to tax us for not doing something. I have to confess, seeing Jeff isn't here, that I kind of lied. I asked him for his opinion on what we would do, what we can do in order to bring this forward in the elections and so forth. But we're already doing that. I figured Jeff would be leaving after, and I wanted to talk to him about it in some way. I didn't want to grandstand and start talking to the audience. It takes time, so I phrased it in the form of a question. But what we're doing is we're taking every single congressperson in the Senate and the House, and we are putting their face on our website, righttorefuseamendment.com, and we're putting whether they're an incumbent or whether they're a challenger, and we're putting a check mark whether they support our right to refuse or not. And what this is a hammer for any challenger to a congressperson, to hammer them over the head, not just about Obamacare and the failure of the exchanges and the website and that kind of thing, but to hammer them over the head about the precedent that's been set, in which, like I said, this new right of government to be able to force our children to do just about anything. And we believe that if we can get a few congresspeople to win and win big in 2014 based upon this platform, that, as Jeff said, as this failure becomes more and more evident, and as the establishment's floor comes out beneath them, we would have a real chance for a true American-based, principled healthcare system based upon free markets. The same free market that puts a gas station on every single corner in our neighborhoods nearly, and the same free market that is proven again and again to create more access and more affordable anything that's built in a competitive environment. But without this, without the right to refuse, even if Obamacare fails, and even if we're able to repeal and defund it, the precedent still exists. And that precedent may lie dormant until we're good and dead. But there's no question that politicians will take this precedent after it's been around for 20 or 30 years, and they'll say, well, this precedent has been around for generations. You talk to anybody about reforming or doing anything common sense with the socialized programs that are in our country today, like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and what do they say? They say, you can't turn back the clock. This is something that people depend upon. This is the evolution of our society. What you're talking about is going backwards, not forwards. If we allow this precedent to sit as it is today, that is what they're going to say to our children, and this is going to be as easy to reverse, repeal, or mitigate as it is today to do that with Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. So me, as a citizen activist, I'm here to ask for support in this regard. We need anything, everything. We need bloggers, we need editors, we need people to write letters, we need money, obviously. I mean, we need everything. We've opened up coalitions in Nevada, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, California, believe it or not, Hawaii. But we got to do it in every single state, and we, like I said, we have backing of. It's been introduced into both houses of Congress. All we need is popular support, so I'm asking for that support, and I'm more than happy to answer whatever questions you have.
Okay, Jeanette Wang, how many people in this room have ever been to the Roberts Republican Bloc website? Come on, we're on the just curiously, when Christine said earlier that she knows everyone in the room, I think that's great. I think it's also our own problem. Because we don't have new people coming in. As our young gentleman mentioned, he was here and he represented a different generation, certainly probably 3 generations from me. But the key is we don't have those people. We don't get a message out to those people. We don't even have discussions with those people. So starting on December 1st, we're going to move We're going to keep the Grafton Republican blog as it is for all of us people who like to go there and read all the stuff that's there. But I'm also going to move the message to Facebook, which we've done sporadically, but then also tweet out our posts so that it gets to a bigger audience. I tried an experiment today. I posted up a picture and an article about Jeff Cooner's talk while he was giving it, and then I went out to Facebook and put a link to our blog entry on our Facebook page, Grafton Republican blog on Facebook, tricky name. And then I tweeted that Facebook link to a whole bunch of Twitter people that I'm linked to, and in a span of a couple of minutes, Ravino, unprompted by me, was bringing up our blog entry on his PC. So he was notified and kept informed about what was going on with nothing that I had to do on my part other than a few keystrokes. The blog entry is good. It does get a lot of readership, but you have to go there every day to figure out if we have something new, although Iron Mike is very prolific in his writing. Facebook is good if you're on Facebook or whatever. How many people here are on Facebook or use Facebook? Good. How many people also use Twitter? Also very good. So having the active outbound kind of message will help us spread things. And I think that plays right in with what Jeff Cooner was saying, is that in our case, the networking is going to be the key to getting a message out and to getting it spread out, not just among the people in this room. We all know where we stand. It needs to expand it out to other people. So I'm going to commit that we will remain very controversial on our RRB. We will probably annoy people. No, I know we will, from time to time. But I'm hoping that the Facebook entries will get a lot more discussion going. We don't have a lot of discussion on the blog page, but on Facebook we could have a lot more significant discussion. And I think if we get things going there, that would expand the reach that we have to get people to say, you know, they're talking about something interesting here, maybe we ought to go talk about that. Will it work? I don't know. I'm willing to try. And I think that's where we're headed in the next few weeks. So if you see anything on Facebook, on our RB Facebook page, please resend it to your friends or let them know that you see it. And if you get a Twitter message from us, a tweet, please retweet that to other people that are on your Twitter list. And that's about it.
Any questions?
I get a blog on my emails. I signed up on this blog, and he blogs pretty much every day. And every time he does it, I get it on my email. Is there a way to do that?
Sure. If you sign up as a member on RRB, then we'll send you an email. Whenever there's a new post, you'll get an email.
Okay.
So it's up to you whether
Isn't it
that's too
basically
many.
called a subscription? If you subscribe and put your email in, then you'll get notified every
Right.
time that they post something.
In the RRB, if you join, then we approve new members, and then you get the notification.
Other questions?
I have a comment. On the email, when you're sending out an email, I get like four different Tea Party emails for different sections of the Tea Party. And I get one that's really like an advertisement. It's not selling something. And I just really learned how to delete a lot of emails in my Yahoo. I have 38,000 emails in there. And what I've done is put only the groups that I really want to save, because it's really a chronological log of the battle. So I'm just making a suggestion. When you're sending out an email, the subject line should really say something. And I know it's hard because sometimes you want to send something out that you really don't want everybody to know, or you don't want it to get picked up by NSA or somebody else. But the point is...
Don't worry, they see them.
But anyway, so what I like to do though, is like throw all of like the Tea Party ones that give a good title into my folder, that I can go there and I can quickly stand down and look at what's going on. I might want to go back to a story. So I'm just, I'm just suggesting that, sending emails are great, but I can't stand having somebody sell me a book. It drives me nuts, and the title looks like it's a story. When I open it up, it's a book. I'm like, please, So I really want to say, if you're really covering news, I want to hear the news. I don't want to hear books. Okay.
So I have a question for each panel. Do you all have Facebook issue-based pages so that everyone can like and follow along with what's happening? And if so, tell the names.
You can find me at MassachusettsMatters.com.
I think that's in your packet.
Yeah, and I'm on Facebook as Stephanie M. Davis.
We're called MASmartmeters.com. Worcester just launched its own group, Worcester Opts Out, WOO. I'm not sure if the website is up yet, but it'll be woo.org. It's not my group, but I feel like an aunt. And very excited about that. It was a huge development. And we do have a Facebook page. There's actually a number of Facebook pages. I think there's a Halt MA Smart Meters, and there's also a Stop NG Grid something. I have to say, we're not. The Twitter, Facebook thing is not something we've capitalized on extremely well.
Yeah. We're right2refuseamendment.com. We're at right2, the number 2, refuse on Twitter. Facebook.com/right2refuse with the TO. We're getting a very good presence on Twitter. Twitter is really our strongest front. My claim to fame is at the Washington Times, for whom has about 200,000 followers and follows about 1,000, so they're about 0.2% of the people that they follow in the ratio to who follows them. They're following the Right to Refuse. They favor and retweet our stuff. Twitter is, from a marketing perspective, a marketing professional, is an unbelievably strong medium to get your message across. It's unbelievably hard to believe that it is, because 120-character, what we call microblogging platform. But if you have something out there and you're looking for like-minded people to choose to know what you're saying, Twitter is a great opportunity for it. And if you have something important to say, as many of us here do, some big hitters like the Washington Times could follow you and be very interested in what you're doing. That's one of our claims to fame. I encourage everyone here to get in touch with the Right to Refuse, because we will help perpetuate your message. We do reciprocate in helping like-minded organizations, and we can use the pulpit that we built to help perpetuate your message as well, as long as it's associated with the fight for liberty.
Okay, we have RadicalRepublicanBlog.com, and on Facebook it's Radical Republican Blog, and I'm just setting up the Twitter under that name. Right now, the tweets go out under my own name as well.
Yeah, I have a question too.
I have a question, actually. I just bought a new house a few months ago. Is there any way of knowing whether there's a smart meter in my house?
What town is it in?
It's in Cumberland, Rhode Island, actually.
Probably not.
Really?
Yeah, but you can tell there's on every smart meter, on every meter that transmits, there's an FCC ID.
Okay.
And on that, so when I say FCC ID colon, and after that, there's like an 8-digit, 8-character ID, and you can look that up on fcc.gov. And if you have any issues, you can email me.
Thank you. And is there any way that anyone devised a way of, click this wire, boom, communication shut off?
A magnet.
Yeah, I mean, no, you can.
I think we use tidbit.
There's all different things to do with those. The thing to do with this is stop it.
Right.
Before it gets in, and we can do that. We can do it. If anybody knows anybody in Worcester, all we need to do is make this pilot program fail. If this pilot program fails, we will save $8 billion. Just for perspective, the pilot program in Worcester is $50 million, which is $44 to $48 million for 19% of Worcester. The entire state of Maine got deployed for $200 million. So the volume of money that they're just blowing, because we have bottomless pockets, and, you know, why the heck not, you know?
There's a lot of free fruit.
Right. And we're spending all this money to tax, to punish ourselves, and the slippery slope for what we're leaving for our children is, you know, and what their agenda is today is not what their agenda is going to be next year. It's very scary. I'm sorry, I tried to squish too much into my PowerPoint.
Can I clarify?
It's a visceral thing.
Wait a minute, I heard you months ago pushing this. And I want to tell you, you've come up 500 to 600% since the first time I heard
it. 400 times,
So,
thank you.
I'm kind of new to this particular thing, but can you give me and tell me a little bit more about your short-term plan, long-term plan for Worcester failing in this?
Right, so I'm meeting with three Worcester councilors tomorrow. I have a meeting with the 2 Worcester senators in a couple of weeks where...
So it's got to fail politically.
Well, what we're hoping to do is raise awareness. All we have to do is get the 77,000 households in Worcester, 15,000 of them have this meter. We can get 80–90% of them to just make a phone call. That's it. Call this one number. You know, I have it here. I won't bother with it. Call this one number and say, "Get this darn thing off my house." It'll fail.
They won't have the meters to finish the pilot, so it won't be able to
Right,
succeed.
it'll fail.
You have your meter taken off if you're
is
in
the
the pilot
gateway.
program.
Are you willing to share your PowerPoint?
Worcester stands.
Sure.
Is there no?
Now, did you say the only way you can tell if it's a smart meter is will have an FCC number?
A lot of them no, because it's so complicated. That's part of the battle. A number of different types of meters have FCC IDs. Some just transmit. These are different because they transmit data and other information, and they also receive and implement instructions. And so they will have an FCC ID, but the FCC ID isn't necessarily the line of demarcation. It's
So
complicated.
you can't necessarily tell if you have one or not.
Well, I can.
I thought you
You
could
know,
call your service.
Claire,
Right.
tell them the difference between how it transmits, like the RF radiation from the smart meters compared to like regular microwave radiation. What's the difference in that? So they get an idea of the concept
This
of
pulse, it pulses for like 8 microseconds, which is the thousandth of a second. So it'll pulse for some period, you know, some number of thousandths of a second, and then be dormant for some period of time, and then pulse and be dormant. And what they do is they arithmetically then, they call it time averaging. So these are serious now we're talking about a microwave. Like this is pulses of microwaves all day, every day, that then they average. So
every 3 to 5 seconds. It
well,
pulses
yeah,
possibly.
the numbers vary, but this is a series, and they can never be turned off.
It's on all the time.
The real issue here, though, isn't whether the radio is safe or not. We have radios all the time that are pulsing all kinds of reasons. It's what are they doing with the information? What is this regarding
That's the- right.
privacy, Fourth Amendment, and all that? That's what the issue is.
Well, that's the issue for you. And it's like a smorgasbord. I'm telling you, and almost everybody has an issue with something.
You remember that
Well,
it's
rather
just
than stuff.
the safety thing with the radio.
Right, for some people it isn't. For Julie, it is. It depends, it's whatever your issue is. You can do that, but they'll come and take it off, or they'll come and turn your electricity off.
The further away you are.
There's a question in the back?
One more question.
Well, maybe I missed it at the beginning because I was outside for a minute, but I'd just like to hear like a quick synopsis of what does the utility company say is the positive aspects of it? Just to hear a little bit of the
It's peak shaving. They want us to use 5% less on the hot summer days, so they're going to charge 11 or 12 times the base rate. You know, on the really hot days when it's been hot, and so people will, you know, be hot and turn off their air conditioner, and then all day, every day to shave off 5% from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So they charge like 1.5 times the base rate. at that point, and they have to do that. They need this information to do that.
They just put in smart furnaces in this public housing where I live. So the first day they were ready was the deep freeze. I froze. So I froze the whole day. So I called them the next day and told them that, I was really freezing that whole day. And it just went on and on and on. And so we came to the conclusion that it was probably because it was so cold, it was like February. So they probably had it set for November instead of February. But I'm wondering, like, I'm on the first floor, and how close is that radiation going to get? Is that radiation going to get to me? Because, like, I just had cancer 2 years ago. I don't need radiation smart meters.
Yeah, it's a serious issue. The part of it is the type of radiation that it is, but there's this thing called the inverse square rule. That means the further you are away from it, the better off you are. But there are these sensitive people who what happens is the meter on your neighbor's house to your right talks to the meter on your neighbor's house to the left, and if you are in between. So there are so many variables.
So should I wrap myself in tin foil?
Wrap the meter in tinfoil.
If we don't have we're going to take a really quick coffee break.
3 minutes only.
Because we're running a little bit behind and we really want to get you guys to get out on time.
But I mean,
We are selling t-shirts, $10 for our last rally. If you buy a t-shirt, you get a free gift.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
consideration today whatsoever, even if it's just $1. You will be in a drawing to win a Tea Party board game. We have 2 of them there, and some really nice books. So see Patrick if you'd like to do that. Our next speaker, it's his 2nd year here at Citizen Watchdog Training, and for 2 years, I've been trying to get him to send me his bio so that I can properly introduce him. And alas, no bio ever came. So Tom Duggan and I just figured we'd make our... We just figured we'd make our...
Everyone's attention, please. Christine's trying to speak. Thank you.
You ready?
You made this up?
No.
Common. Christine.
This is why you like those photos on Facebook.
So, just to set this up a little bit, Rob Eno considers himself the most hated blogger in the country. So, you know, we weren't sure about that. Since he never sent me a bio, I don't know that much about him, so we just reached out to, you know, average citizens to get their opinion.
Yeah, can you turn, where's the sound guy? You gotta turn the audio up for this thing.
Just real quick.
Yeah, Liz up. That's good. That's good. Channel Liz up.
Right there. Oh, there you go. There you go.
Real quick. Rob Eno says he's the most hated blogger in America. So we went out and we asked people, do they really hate Rob Eno?
Rob, man, I hate that guy. Get him off. Rob Eno? No, I've never heard of him, but I hear a lot of very great.
I really do have ADDs.
Oh, okay.
All right. Thank you for having me. I'm going to teach you about how to get the people's records. The reason I call them the people's records is because it's... What?
Slide yourself to the right. Move right. You're not far right enough. Just you.
There we go. The people's records. The reason I call them the people's records, the people's seed stuff around, but they are your records. The records of the government are your records. They're open. Sometimes it takes you bringing them, as Tom knows, to court to get them, and then to court again to get them, and to court again to get them, and to court again to get them, and they don't give them to you. But they are your records. And, you know, we've talked a lot about truth today. We've talked a lot about those sorts of things. And I just, I'm reminded of what Andrew Breitbart said about the truth. And I don't. Andrew said the truth does not mean it's just the truth. And the way you find the truth and you weave it into a story is by getting information, whether that's talking to somebody or getting public records. We talked a little bit about activism, and Jim Sturgios, who just showed up, is actually going to talk to you a little bit more about Common Core, and he's done a lot in the school choice arena. And when you get the truth and you have a story, there's a way that you can narrate that story if you're trying to do activism, if you're trying to do even media stuff. This was a radio host in Milwaukee where they had a very successful school choice program, and they wanted to increase the cap on charter schools. There was a Democratic governor that didn't want to do that. And African Americans, everybody that knew what it was doing for their kids wanted to have that increased. And I went to the Franklin Center. One of their big pushes this year is going to be school choice. So if you've got school choice stories, make sure you give them to me so I can help expand them. That's what we're really trying to do. And last year, one of the people from Milwaukee played this ad that a newspaper columnist actually, not a newspaper columnist, but a radio host actually put together. And I just want to play this because we've talked a lot about, you know, storytelling and people's activities, but personalizing something. And when I heard this, my jaw dropped, yours might too. But I just want to play this. This was a very successful radio ad for school choice.
Years ago, the Supreme Court opened the schoolhouse doors, but the fight hasn't been easy, and the fight isn't over. In 1957, a governor named Orwell Faubus stood in the schoolhouse door in Little Rock, Arkansas to keep 9 African-American students from getting an education. In 1963, a governor named George Wallace stood in the door of the University of Alabama to keep 2 African-American students from going to school.
Now, in 2006, don't let a governor named Jim Doyle stand in the schoolhouse door again. This time, blocking hundreds of African-American students right here in Milwaukee.
Students who just want a chance to go to the school of their choice.
If Governor Doyle doesn't lift the cap on school choice, he'll be standing in the schoolhouse door just as surely as Governor Faubus and Governor Wallace.
Governor Doyle, let our people go. Governor Doyle, let our children in.
Governor Doyle, let our children learn.
Governor Doyle, get out the schoolhouse door.
Really, that's awesome. Absolutely.
Can anybody tell me how long it took for Governor Doyle to lift the schoolhouse?
Oh, no,
school choice?
14 seconds after it's finished.
2 weeks. He signed a bill to lift the schoolhouse cap. It was, you know, but it's the truth. And the truth isn't me. The truth is the truth. And that's kind of what I want to do. So now I'll find my PowerPoint if I can. Which I have. It took my scroll page. There it is. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to get public records in Massachusetts. What is and what isn't public record in Massachusetts? How do you request public records? What should they cost? What do they look like and how do they come back? And what are the remedies for non-compliance? I'm also going to show you a few stories that finding public records, whether I've had to do a request or I found them online, what stories I've written with them. So those are a couple of things I'm going to tell you. There's a resource document, and I will share this with Christine, so anybody, or you can email me at rob@redmassgroup.com, and I will share this with you so you can find the documents. But the resource document I use is from the Secretary of State, which tells you how to do Freedom of Information Act requests. You might hear the word FOIA. That's why Chris, we were talking about this last night at dinner, why she asked me what it was called in Massachusetts. FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, is a federal policy. In Massachusetts, it's called Massachusetts Public Records Law, and it applies to records created by and in the custody of a state, local agency, board, or government entity. And boards and government entities mean also these quasi-public entities, like the Mass Health Connector, school boards, those sorts of things. So it's not just government agencies. What is a public record? Every shred of a document, paper, record, map, photograph, electronic or non-electronic, is considered a public record. You can get emails, you can get written communication, you can get electronic files, you can get metadata. You can ask them to print out. If metadata is when you save a Word document or something like that, it will say, you know, saved by this person first, all of that stuff. You can get that information. You can request that they take screen grabs and print that out for you. What is exempt? There's some statutory exemptions to this rule, which have been created by the legislature. There's no, you know, they exempted themselves, which isn't that, you know, surprising. But there's also some other exemptions. Statutory. It's specifically in the statute that has a certain law says that the records of this are exempted. any record that is solely for internal personnel rules. So if somebody's getting fired for cause, if it's because of a personnel decision, those sorts of things can be withheld, but their salary can't be, and those sorts of things. And the Boston Herald, I mean, has anybody been to the Find a Hack website at the Boston Herald?
What is it
You-
called?
The Find a Hack, how they call it the Find a Hack, it's basically, you can find the payroll of every state employee, and the Herald has gone even further and done cities and municipalities. The biggest one, they have the Health Connector, I'll show you, I did something with that today. So there's a bunch of things where you can get, if you've got a friend that works in state government, you want to know how much they make, go to the Herald. You can find out, because it's public record. Privacy, anything that's private, medical records, those sorts of things. Deliberative process, if they're talking, and this is a really weird one, and it shouldn't be exempt, but if, say the governor's office is talking about how they're going to enact something or something like that, that deliberative process is exempt. Whether or not it should be is another story, but it is. Another exemption are any notebooks that are personal, so personal entries in a diary, those sorts of things are not. If something is currently under investigation, you can't ask for the records about an ongoing investigation. And there's a bunch of other ones, and they're in the document that's at the Secretary of State's office. So how do you get them? For ones that aren't available readily online, which I'm going to show you, it should be in writing, and that can be an email, and it should be addressed to the lead manager who will disseminate it, or to the press secretary. I've done stuff with the press secretary, and they take them. This is what it looks like. This is the form that's on the Secretary of State's website. This was to the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center. Funny, they never gave me what I asked for, but, you know, I do this part-time, and if we could figure out how to... You hit the tip jar? That's where maybe I can do it full-time. But I do it part-time. But this is a request under the Massachusetts Public Records Law. I am requesting that I be provided a copy of the following documents. All financial records of the Clean Energy Center, because the Clean Energy Center in Massachusetts isn't just a Clean Energy Center, they're basically a publicly funded venture capital firm. Valuation reports, annual reports, fund accounting, etc. And I had a bunch more there. I recognize you may charge reasonable cost for photocopies. You want to put this in because they could say, okay, we did it all, here's $20,000. That you must contact me if it goes over a certain amount. And I always put $250. I've actually brought it down and put it $100 now, but the standard was $250. As you're aware, I must be provided this information within 10 days. That's what the statute says. It's never what happens, but it is what the statute says. And what they like to do is say, oh, we're working on it, and then they think that that resets the 10-day clock, which it doesn't. But, you know, it's what they say. If you cannot comply with my request, please provide an explanation in writing. If I am not granted access to the documents within 10 days, I will exercise that as my right, filing an appeal with the Secretary of State. And I've done that a couple times. Tom has done that a lot of times, especially when it involves elderly people. Do's and don'ts. Do be specific.
This may be an aside, but what is the budget of the Clean Energy Center? Do you know?
I have no idea. But I should, but I don't. I can get it online real quick. We can go there and we can see it. But it was what I wanted to find out when I was doing this. I was trying to figure out, because it was right around the time of Evergreen Solar, if they were losing in all of their investments. So you want to be specific. You want to talk about a specific time frame. You want to talk about a specific individual, and you want to talk about a specific event. Don't go on fishing expeditions. Have a good idea of what you want. What you don't want to do is say, give me all emails from the city for the year 2010. You're not going to get a quick response. I do want to show you real quick in my email, if I can find that. I sent a public records request yesterday to, I don't know if you guys have seen the recent stories. In Massachusetts, the healthcare system is even worse than it was before Obamacare, because Massachusetts had a website that worked for 5 years and decided to change it and go to a new website. And then just yesterday, they decided that they were going to try and, Governor Patrick basically used the same excuse that Obama used a month ago. Oh, it's because of the overwhelming traffic to the website that stopped the website from working. So I put, dear Mr. Lefferts, this is a request under the Massachusetts Public Record. I would like daily website traffic data for all websites that have been under the control of the Health Connector Authority from January 1st, 2007, to the time of the receipt of this records request. Data should include, but not limited to, page views, unique visitors, total visits, geographic location of visitors, and average visit length. The website for which data is returned should include the mahealthconnector.org, mahealthconnector.com, and mahealthconnector.info. They have 3 websites. One of them is kind of like their corporate website, that's the info. Any other websites not listed above but operated by the Connector Authority should also be included. And then, because what they're going to do is they're going to print me out a bunch of data that I can't use because they're going to print it out, so I can't use it. And I said, it would be better for all of us and cheaper if you just give it to me in Excel. So I specifically asked for an Excel or CSV document. We'll see what happens. But when you see a story like that, you can ask them for the data that you think will nullify what they're saying. So that, and Jason Lefferts I've known for, 11 years. He was actually at the Lowell Sun when I worked on a congressional campaign, so I know him pretty well from that. And he's usually responsive to me because he knows I'll make his life a pain. So he gets me what I want, He is. They are required to provide in 10 days by law. Not 11 days, not 200 days. The law clearly and unequivocally states that you're to give it to me in 10 days. If you don't give